Hello and welcome to my awesome health journey. I'm Britt Dupree, and this is, I think, going to be my three-part series on anxiety. I've been thinking a lot about anxiety, especially my social anxiety, when it comes to my recent kind of autism realization that, I for sure kind of got it, and learning more about ADHD and really thinking about what anxiety means to me and how I should work at it. And the thing that helps me process things, of course, is talking about it. And maybe one of my thoughts will help someone else, and that'd be super cool. But first thing I really wanted to talk about is what exactly is anxiety, at least what I think it is for me and maybe for other people, which is our anxiety really are our thoughts that are perpetuated in our unconscious mind being played over and over again, and sometimes in our conscious mind. Especially for me, my anxiety has a very conscious. I have a big voice in my head that talks all the time, and anxiety a lot of times is me being stuck in my head and doing that. But I really want to talk about what is anxiety before I really start talking about dealing with it, because I think that it is not magic. It is something that's biological within ourselves to protect us. I mean, we like to think of ourselves, at least I know I do, as these very complicated beings, especially if you get into personal growth, you get into spirituality, these spiritual beings having human experience and talking about the ego and blah, blah, blah. But we're also very simple. We have main drives for survival, eating, drinking, and passing off our genes. Those are like three important things, breathing as well. Those are like our four main drivers of living. And of course, there's a lot of other things because we are decently complicated. But even if you go to a single cell organism, it'll still go towards something that it needs to live and away from something that will kill it. And we aren't that different in the sense of things that we want, things that will help our survival for our body and mind, because you know, like everything here does not understand the outside world. It's just all, data and interpretations and things that make us live. And so things that make us more likely to survive is a positive feeling. Things that will take away survival is a negative feeling, generally fear. Um, there's other feelings, but let's talk about mostly like joy and fear, and mostly the fear and having negative experiences in the past causes these thoughts to happen, and these thoughts can be unconscious based off our experiences a lot of times with our parents, because when we are really young, our parents are our entire world. Pretty much we just soak up everything as a child, so watching our parents be scared of something will make us scared of something. You'll see babies, something happens and they'll look at their parents for their reaction, because they're learning how to deal with the world. They're learning what should give them anxiety, should fear, and they're learning what they shouldn't fear. And so a lot of those things are just ingrained in us. Also, the more we think about something, the more we hold on to that thing. So when you're having the same thought over and over and over and over and over and over again, that thought becomes more ingrained in the mind and easier to think. I think I've heard it as like the neurons get this like film over it, and just that film becomes more solidified, so that thought is easier to have, and that's what kind of learning is. I don't, I'm not a doctor or scientist or any of those things, but I've just heard of something like that. I always, the metaphor of a path in like a field, and the path you walk down becomes more grooved, and that's kind of how the mind works, in the sense that thoughts that you continue to have become easier to have. And especially with big emotions, emotions, I've heard in one of the books, I'm very bad at remembering names, but um, I think I talked about it before, but that emotions are predictions based on our experiences. So your mind sees something and it predicts what's going to happen, and it makes you feel bad, so that you will get away from it before you consciously even know what it is, or you'll make you feel good before you unconsciously know what it is, so you can react in a way. And of course, bad things also have more precedent, because in life, you have a better chance of survival if you have a bigger reaction toward things that will kill you than a bigger reaction than things that'll keep you alive. Because there's always more food. There's not always, a tiger attack. If you're attacked by something, you're not always going to survive. But if you miss out on an apple on the side of the road that's ripe, there'll probably be another apple that's probably not going to be the last one. So the big emotions of that, for instance, an attack such as from a dog or something, will just ingrain into your mind and become stronger, and that becomes like that intense fear. Man, I am so bad at collars. I do that. I'm still 40 something. My dad will fix my collar. Seeing that didn't cause me anxiety. But what anxiety is kind of having those thoughts over and over again about something that is not happening at the moment, um, or something that's not happening now. And it's having those feelings that something's bad is going to happen because of your experience in the past, because your trauma, because of whatever. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. This is just more along the lines of what it is. Having anxiety is just thinking about something, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, and then feeling that something bad is going to happen. And it continues because the more you feel that thing and the more you have that thought, that reinforces itself. So it makes it easier to think that anxious thought. So anxiety is like a perpetual motion machine because the energy keeps on building and building and building because you keep on giving it energy. So the more you think the anxious thought, the more anxiety you'll feel of it. The more you think that anxious thought, the more anxiety you'll feel about it. And it'll just continue and continue and continue until you just are anxious about that thing. And sometimes it's perfectly fine to be anxious, because, sometimes life is scary. But I guess the next part I'll talk about more about working with anxiety. So I just really want to get the basis of what I think anxiety is. And I knew I couldn't talk about the three, dealing with anxiety and then dealing with social anxiety on top of it, in 10 minutes, because anything above 9 minutes tends to mess up TikTok. So basically, that's what I think anxiety is overall. If you want to hear more, sometimes next week I'll be posting like my dealing with anxiety, at least my thought process now. And so thank you for watching. I love you for who you are, and as always, you are worthy.